right, everyone, it's Monday. I just returned from Italy after a wonderful weekend at Eternal Weekend Europe in Lucca. Beautiful city, beautiful people. I was lucky enough to be commentating the whole tournament. I had a ton of fun. My gut feeling is I did a good job, but who knows, right? It doesn't really matter what I think myself. Um, we got to showcase a ton of cool legacy games, deep strategy, corner case scenarios, paper specific stuff, people being super stressed in the feature match area, but overall, such a huge amount of excitement, camaraderie, sportsmanship. This weekend was very, very beautiful. But of course, I had to use a little bit of my inside information here to get you guys Metagame Monday out on time as the Italians are working on publishing the deck lists. In front of us, we have 30 out of the top 32, because 2 lists were handed in paper, and that's a little bit tough to keep track of. We will be covering the top 8. We're going to be covering the rest of the field all the way down to the 32nd place. You know, those coveted promos, foil copies, and non-foil copies for the top 8, and non-foil copies of Tendrils of Agony for the rest of the way, all the way down to top 32. Going into the weekend, if I was a betting man, I would have said, is it Tempo, default best deck, alongside show and tell strategies. Then we're going to have Dimir Tempo that's going to try and, be the big brother in the head-to-head Tempo. Then we're going to have a ton of different strategies. People who are excited about go wide decks, people that are excited about control decks. But yeah, let's just be honest here. This was like nobody had predicted. We end up crowning our champion piloting Affinity, beating Eldrazi in the finals, so two blistering fast Ancient Tomb aggro decks facing off. I believe Cephalid Breakfast and Black-White Energy rounded up the top 4, and then with a couple of Dimir Tempos, Storm, the Epic Storm, and then a sweet version of Up the Beanstalk rounded out the top 8. Nobody, as in nobody, would have predicted this. I will love to see who even came close to this prediction of the top 8. So what can we say overall? Let's try and place these decks here. So we have aggro. Let's put it down here. We have Stompy. We have, I guess we could call it graveyard combo now. We have creatures. We have tempo. We have combo. We have control. Now look at these piles. When was the last time we saw all of these piles represented in a somewhat comparable fashion? Let's just quickly cover tempo here. Tempo on the weekend, it ended up being Blue-Black's weekend to shine. Dimir was slightly less represented in the field compared to Izzet, but it ended up converting way better. As you see here, 3 happy Dimir players taking down the promo, and 1 Soul Cutter player with a promo here. This is a massive underachievement for the blue-red deck. I love the blue-red deck going into the format. Whenever there's uncertainties in the format, it's just good to be able to count to 20, be good with your cantrips and your surveil triggers, and get the job done. But these Dimir decks with Orcish Bowmasters, with some of them with Nethergoyfs, some of them with Murktide, all of them with Baragoyf, they had the upper hand in the tempo head-to-head. We did see some sweet Katara builds, and this is something I'm going to keep working on. This was a Grixis version, essentially blue-black splashing Pyroblast out of the sideboard, with the logic being, well, I think there's going to be a lot of blue players in Italy. I think Pyroblast is worth the squeeze, and yeah, I can't wait to see what happens with this card. I already have a cool video out with a I would say somewhat established or somewhat reasonable Dimir version. I ended up crushing a lot of opponents in that video. Go and check it out. Next pile here, we have Graveyard, so Breakfast. I did not expect Breakfast to do much this weekend, I must say. I did expect Oops. If you would have asked me how many Oops decks do you think will take down a promo, I think 1 is the best answer to that question. So Oops, delivered on being this fringe deck that you have to respect, but you don't really want to respect. You know the deal. If you under-respect Oops, it's going to enter a tournament, so might as well respect it. 1 copy of Dimir Reanimator took down a promo. That deck is trying to find its footing after the Entomb ban, and I think it has promise. A few other prominent figures think it has promise, but, who knows? This could be a great deck. This could be a deck that's more of a tier 2 deck, of a passion project. Who knows? Next column is going to be the combo stuff. We have a couple of copies of Doomsday here, which is always an expert deck. Few players will play this deck, and few players will do well with this deck. So this converts fairly well compared to how many actually play it, because those who do are generally experts. Both of them, I believe, were using somewhat of transformational sideboards where you're trying to get your opponent on the wrong foot. If you're boarding into Baragoyfs and you have an Orcish Bowmasters, you have Tamios and Murktide, and the opponent sitting there with Consigned to Membrane, Force Negation. That's awesome. And then vice versa. If the opponent has Fatal Pushes up their sleeve and you're trying to cast Ritual Doomsday with Flusterstorm backup, you love to see it. So this deck is trying to take a page out of old Dimir Reanimator's playbook and apply it in the new metagame. And it looks to be working at a reasonable clip. Here is the most played deck in the top 32 here. 5 copies of Show and Tell Omniscience. Different flavors, though. Whether you're using... I guess all of them were using Stock Up, and most of them were splashing green for Veil and Carpet. And I think that's just very, very smart to have Carpet of Flowers available against seemingly ton of tempo. Then you can try and get the job done from there. If Thoughtseize ends up seeing a lot more play, I mean, you love to have Veil of Summer in your deck, so this deck is quietly cheering for the Dimir version to be the most played. Slower clock, no Pyroblast, and Veil is better against them. So, yeah, that's exactly what the Omniscience deck wants. Great conversion rate from that deck. Copy of Epic Storm we already talked about. Pretty insane to see that deck in the top 8. But bannings, like, it doesn't really matter if 2 cards were banned, 4 cards were banned, 6 cards were banned. Those kinds of shakeups just give hope to a lot of players. And when they sign up with the deck in the tournament, they actually have a chance at doing well. So congrats to the Storm player. I even heard that the player, since they're playing 1 Tendrils in the main deck and 1 Tendrils in the sideboard, they went ahead and bought one of the other players' copy of Tendrils. So yeah, why not put 1 in the main and 1 in the sideboard? Great reminder of a great weekend. Blue Cloud Post, another one of these decks that I predicted to have a strong weekend. Plays 2 copies in the top 32. It doesn't seem like a whole lot on paper, but for a deck that doesn't see a ton of play, this is quite impressive. It's kind of like, how Doomsday performed on the weekend. These players are super skilled, very dedicated to their archetype, and a couple of the pilots ended up taking home a promo, so congratulations to you guys. Then we actually had 3 Up the Beanstalk decks. They were a little bit different. You had some Storm Chasers talent going on in some of them, and you had 80 cards, and you had failure action and Riddler action. So just different flavors of 4 to 5 color control. And, with 3 copies, that's almost 10% of the top 32. If control is back in this capacity, sign me up for some more Legacy. I do love me some grindy games. Speaking about grindy games, a couple of Wizards took down a promo here, Jeskai Wizards. Shout out to both of them. They are both members of my Discord and awesome contributors to my community. They were obviously super excited to bring home the bacon, but they've also been very excited leading up to the event, trusting the process, really appreciating the play style and winning on turn 10 and grinding away with Thundertrap Trainers and Flames of Anor and Tameo. So yeah, I was delighted to see it, and I gave one of them a big bear hug after that one. Yeah, that was beautiful to see. For me, even though Magic is played in a 1v1 fashion, for me it's a team game. So I will always be super happy for others reaching their goals. And if I even had 1% part in that, that's exactly what I want to do in this industry. Next column here is aggro. We already talked about the Affinity deck. I was a little bit surprised, actually, to see the Affinity deck, quote-unquote, survive the bans, because a big reason to play that deck was its positive Reanimator matchup. It put on a lot of pressure. It could main deck Tormod script. And you were dodging, for the most part, super targeted artifact hate. So that deck is back with a vengeance, and I love to see it as a player in the metagame, I must say. Cradle Control got a shot in the arm recently by the Cub, the Mole Badger, and the Mole something, the 2/2 with Earthbent. That deck I expect to be a fringe player in the metagame, right below energy archetypes when it comes to go wide strategies. it's great that you have another, mana burst in your deck, so you can maybe. I even saw this player, or maybe another player on coverage, had cut some cradles. So essentially, you're just optimizing your deck a little bit. It's not some crazy new innovation, in my opinion. I will happily be proven wrong, like many times before. Speaking about the energy deck, it made top 4. We saw some absurd matches on coverage with that deck where, yeah, very unique things happened. Let me just put it that way. And we had a good laugh in the booth. I love that this strategy is viable, and I love that this strategy was able to send a pilot all the way to the top 4 and thus bank a foil copy for their trouble. Last up, by the way, we see 0 mono red prison here, which is a little bit of a bad sign. We do see Eldrazi being represented as the only Stompy deck. Eldrazi, I guess you can categorize Affinity as that as well, because some of these actually did play Chalice of the Void. So Eldrazi, I talked a lot about it on coverage. The flexibility is off the charts with especially Waterscape Battle Mage. And Eldrazi Obligator, so good against Baragoyf, Murktide Regent, the One Ring, Ursa Saga, and then it's just about getting the opponent dead. So I really like to see people use these proactive strategies early on in a format. Another deck that's nowhere to be seen is Mystic Forge. I remember all of this when the bans came in. Mystic Forge gonna crush everybody. That was already a good deck, and it was left untouched. How are we possibly going to deal with that deck? And it turns out people just decided to use some of those extra spare slots from, Blue-Black Reanimator getting super nerfed to play more Consigned Memories or Null Rods or Clarion Conquer, stuff that interacts with the Forge deck. And it doesn't look good for the Forge deck. I could see a comeback for that deck, but as long as Show and Tell is at the top of the metagame, as long as Doomsday is represented, yeah, I'm not too excited about Mystic Forge as a deck. So let's try and make sense of this here. So we have some constants. Let's say you're trying to win a Legacy LCQ hours from when I post this video. Like myself, you have to think about Show and Tell. You have to think about tempo. But if you also have to think about blistering fast go white decks, and maybe even Chalice decks over here, you're going to be under a lot of trouble, under a lot of pressure, rather, and it's very hard to build your reactive deck with all of this in mind. So for me, Legacy is a little bit up in the air right now. I will spend some hours today trying to find out which weapon of choice I'm using in the LCQ, but yeah, I haven't decided yet. I will, of course, spend a lot more time to think about this during the week as well. I will update my guides and everything I usually do over on my Metafy. And if I got your interest here, I would love to see you over there. That goes without saying. I can always use more awesome Barons in my community, just spreading joy, inspiration. Just the camaraderie there is just the best. Just like it was on this trip, to be honest. I was lucky to work with many, many talented people. I got a lot of responsibility. I got a lot of good feedback. And I'm just filled with big smiles here, despite being losing my voice a little bit and being slightly tired. I'm not gonna lie here. That was a lot of impressions during that weekend. The last thing I want to say before I let you guys go is I will be hosting a European Legacy Masters qualifier this Saturday. It's going to be open for everybody. It's going to be free for my members. It's going to cost $15 for guests, or euro equivalent. And the price structure you can see here. I'm offering up a beautiful artist proof gold signed with even a first place inscription here, Brazen Borrower. I'm offering up, let's see, quick math here, 30 plus 90, that's 120 plus 120, 240. This is 360 chests. Is going to be in this price structure. It's going to be Swizz. It's going to be top 8. I'm going to use Melee. I'm going to use my Discord. I will drop the Discord invite in the pinned comment to this video. So if you're going to play this tournament, please join. We can take care of the entry fee, and I will enroll you in the tournament. So why not try and win your European Legacy Masters slot online? Why not? I'm also going to be hosting another one in the new year, so look out for that one. I'm always super happy about opportunities like that when there's meaningful crossover and synergy to be had. Just like I had this weekend with the great people down in Italy. Four Seasons guys, amazing. Booze MTG and his crew, amazing. And I hope that Eternal Weekend will return to Italy next year. And of course, I also hope that I will return to that same venue next year. That would be the dream. All right, guys, I'm not going to hold you any longer. I was doing my best to get this video out. It was not easy to get those deck lists. I hope you appreciate it. If we said hello in Luca, it was a pleasure. And if not, you should catch me next time. I'm always interested in meeting people on the internet and getting a face to, let's say, an online avatar or a nickname. All right, guys, that was it for Metagame Monday. I hope to see you back soon on the channel. Have fun with Legacy, and I will do the same. See you guys.